Hello, and thanks for joining me on Life in Surround. Today is a Surround album review, 1984, Ammonia Avenue by Alright, so this is a brand new release. It just got here yesterday. Fortunately, Esoteric Records decided to stay with the plan of the previous Alan Parsons Project's deluxe sets, and they have produced a giant mega box if you are so inclined to splurge on that. But they also have released a companion standalone Blu-ray for those of us who just want high-res audio, including high-res surround. So that is greatly appreciated. I recently watched an interview with Sally Wolfson, Eric Wolfson's daughter, who lovingly curates the mega boxes. And she said, I believe, that the first box set for Tales of Mystery and Imagination, which I also have the standalone for, was done by Universal, I think. And yeah, I see the Universal symbol right here on the Blu-ray. And then she said that Eye in the Sky, which I also have the standalone for, was done by Sony. And now this one is being done by Esoteric by way of Cherry Red Records. So we have three different deluxe sets, three different labels, but all done in a similar way. You get the Mega Deluxe if you want, but the standalone. And I hear a rumor that the next Alan Parsons Project Deluxe is supposed to be Turn of a Friendly Card. And I know that that is some people's very, very favorite Alan Parsons Project album. So I think that would be just fantastic. That would be going back in time before Eye in the Sky. And musically and sonically, I think that would probably be a really great thing. So let's get on to talking about this new Blu-ray. I like to talk about music, sound, and surround. Basically, the big three components for me that go into whether a release is enjoyable. So musically, this is very 1984. The album, unfortunately in my opinion, is dominated by electronic drums. I don't mean that that's like always the prominent sound, but I don't believe there are any acoustic drums on the album. So anytime you have drums in the arrangement, they are electronic. You do get some percussive elements that I believe are acoustic, such as some shaker. And maybe some of the other percussive instruments like bongos. I don't think they're always electronic drums, but the main kit has that early Simmons sound, if you know what I'm talking about. Which, you know, it's fine, I guess. It definitely is a snapshot in time. It's just not my favorite drum sound ever. So that's one thing about this album musically that I'm not super crazy about. And then I've seen it said that like this is sort of in the bottom end of people's rankings for Alan Parsons Project albums. There are a few songs on this album that I really, really, really like. They all happen to be on side B for me. And they would be Don't Answer Me, Pipeline, and Ammonia Avenue. I think those are three super strong tracks. And perhaps were it me, I would have probably put those tracks a little earlier in the album. Side A, just, it's hard for me to remember much of it, and the album for me really starts to sweeten up in that back half. Alright, so let's talk about sonics. I've heard people saying that this album sounds just fine to them. To my ears, across both of my main listening systems, this album sounds a little bit bright. Particularly some of the background vocals can be a bit harsh for me. And that's unusual for Alan Parsons' project. I went and listened to Tales of Mystery and Imagination again this morning, at least the first 2 tracks, and very pleasant, warm sound. And then again I put on Eye in the Sky just to have like a bit more of a comparison, because like, you know, maybe this was recorded like totally analog and maybe the technology for Ammonia Avenue was a bit different. I know that at that time a lot of production companies were shifting over to digital recording, so I wanted to just compare another album that may have been closer to that digital age. And again, Eye in the Sky sounds pretty damn good to me, especially the drum sounds, very acoustic, so I appreciate that. So Ammonia Avenue can be a little bright, a little harsh for me, and the good news is that I found that to be primarily the case in the front half of the album. And as soon as we get to my favorite song, Don't Answer Me, the sound warms up, and it could be just how much I love that track, but to me the sound warmed up and then stayed quite improved like through the rest of the album. So for all we know, like maybe some of the tracks were recorded differently. Alan Parsons is an amazing engineer, so I imagine that we are getting the album showcased in the best possible way here. And it's just my observation that the sound on the front half can be a little bright and then it improves through the back half of the album. And I'd be interested to know what your experience is. Are you hearing the same thing as me? Is the whole album pretty harsh for you, or is the whole album just, you know, fantastic in terms of sonics for you? Or are you getting the experience like I am of a different sound for the first and the second half? Alright, and so now the surround. This is a surround album review. We get Alan Parsons' typical treatment of this album. A sparingly used center, which really just reinforces the fronts. You get the drum kit primarily up front. You get the bass up front and centered. You get the lead vocal up front and centered. They make use of a stereo phantom center. Again, the center channel itself is not used all that much. You tend to get lead instruments up front, though there are a couple of exceptions, as well as some keyboards up front. Now that leaves the surrounds, which carry a lot of the rhythm guitar tones, backing vocals, occasionally a lead instrument, additional keyboard layers, and also some percussive elements on several songs. The surrounds are also utilized really well on certain tracks to capture delay and echo effects that may emanate from the front but then resound out into the surrounds, and I usually really dig that kind of thing. A standout surround moment and a great use of the surround field is during Ammonia Avenue, when the song strips itself down to what I believe is a synthesizer figure in the rears. And then a nylon guitar appears in the fronts. And you're sandwiched right in between them, and then the rest of the band comes back in. And the song builds to the greatest crescendo of the album. It's a really great album closer, and an excellent use of the entirety of the surround field. So I just recently did a video about what makes a surround album great. And in this case, I think we have a decent selection of songs. I don't love all of them, I don't remember all of them even, but there are a few that stand out to me, so there are some strong songs here. at least on the back half of this Blu-ray, we have a pretty nice warm sound. And then we have an engineer who really loves surround and is looking to deliver to people who love surround music, using all of the surround field to provide excellent separation between parts and to really make an engaging experience where you're in the middle of the music, in the middle of the band, and important things are happening all around you. You can't help but be captivated by what's going on in this surround field. So this has all of the makings of a great surround album. It's just a bit inconsistent sonically, and then, in my opinion, in terms of the strength of the songs. So this won't be top tier for me, but when it's at its best, this really does deliver. If you are a fan of surround music and the 80s vibe and some Alan Parsons Project, this is a worthy standalone Blu-ray pickup. I think I was able to get it somewhere like around $12. And so, you know, that's basically less than the price of many CDs. So I think the value's there, and I'm not trying to dissuade you from going in for the big box. If you are a huge fan of this album, that could be the way for you to go. You're going to get the 5.1 and the high-res stereo as well. And a thing to note about the Blu-ray, as we get ready to close this video, is that you get 2 promo videos. You get Primetime and Don't Answer Me. They're both synced to stereo tracks. And then also, as you are listening to the album progress, you get various shots, these mirrored photographs of the ammonia plant where the album artwork was shot. And many of these shots, in my opinion, are actually better than what they chose for the final cover. And they're cool to look at. I think they help you kind of get into the inspiration and the concept of a lot of the songs. And so the presentation of the Blu-ray is really good. You get DTS HD Master and LPCM for your 5.1 choices, and then you also get lossless high-res stereo as well. So, hey, listen, there's a deluxe box you can indulge in. There's a standalone. This is lossless, very active, very bold surround. There's some good tunes. And I hope that these Alan Parsons Project deluxe sets do well enough that they go ahead and just do the whole catalog. I'm on board for pretty much anything that they have up their sleeve. And if Turn of a Friendly Card is next, that would be just wonderful. And I'm sure that many would agree with that. So I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Give the video a like if you're so inclined. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about this Blu-ray. If you have the deluxe set, give us your thoughts on that. Let us know what Alan Parsons Project albums you would like most to come out. Like if we couldn't get them all, I'm pretty sure that iRobot, Pyramid, and Turn of a Friendly Card would be on a lot of people's lists. So I appreciate you watching. I hope that you are staying safe. Hopefully this video and others like it are part of, you know, helping us all endure this time period that we're in of stay at home and shelter in place. And gosh, not a whole lot left to say, except I'm looking forward to reviewing Marillion's Script for a Jester's Tear soon. I just want to give time to absorb the whole set. There is a lot to it, not just the 5.1 mix. And then also I want to dig in and do a proper review of Mary Falls from the Dark Side of the Moon. So again, I appreciate you joining me, and until next time, live life in surround.
For we shall see, and we shall find Ammonia